Shadowscape, a small game set in the world of Mistfall, a game that I haven't played yet, but I count on playing soon. Shadowscape is a dungeon crawler, card-based, as you probably can see here. Card-based dungeon crawler which can be played cooperatively and also solitaire, can also be played competitively, so a lot of variety there. So mechanics that I like, a theme that I like very much, very promising game, has a lot of things that I like, but let's see how the execution went, if the game lived up to the expectations that I had about it. The game is played on this sort of like board, I would say, on this grid of cards that you place randomly. Only the corners are not random. And then the other card you shuffle and you form this grid of 5x5, which represents the dungeon. Great apparent variety, yes, but after all rooms are connected to all rooms, so at the end the geography of the dungeon remains the same from game to game. Although of course the placement of the rooms is different. In some rooms you will have enemies. There are 3 types of enemies: brigands, undead, and beasts, and there is a pool of enemies that you will draw from to populate the dungeon. So you will repeat that for all of those icons. And the monsters, their stats are the attack, the defense that you need to meet or exceed to kill them, and these icons indicate where the monster moves following the symbols on the map. When the monsters activate to move, then they move following those symbols based on the door that they're gonna enter next, and not based on the... Actually, this guy will go there, so he cannot move. But you move them around following those symbols, which also means that you know in advance where they're going to go. Also, you see some symbols here, treasure symbols, and again you populate the dungeon. Symbols have a number that you need to meet or exceed with your search action. Where is another one? With your search action to capture, to collect that treasure. And then of course we have our heroes. Our heroes are represented on the board by these tokens here. You may want to add the plastic standee so you can see them a little more easily. Also, you may purchase an upgrade that gives you plastic miniatures, because if you use the ones that come with the game and you don't put them vertically, as you can see, they tend to blend in with the background quite a bit. Makes them very thematic, but also not that easy to see at a glance. These heroes are represented on the board by these small tokens here, but then of course you need to know a little bit more about them, and you have cards that tell you precisely that. Each hero comes with a card that gives you the defense number they will subtract from the number of hit points they receive when an enemy attacks them, the size of their hand when it comes to fate cards, which are special resources, movement, the number of areas that the hero takes when the hero performs a move action, and then special abilities, and also number here of blood drops that represents the number of wounds tokens. I have them there. Wound tokens that you can place on this card. There are other areas where you can also place the wounds that you receive throughout the game. And then, to activate, actually, each hero has a pool of action cards. And as you can see, they match the symbol of the hero. Where is the hero that corresponds to that symbol? Ah, I lost that. There you go. Here we go. This hero here corresponds to that symbol there. So this is the hand or the pool of action cards that the hero uses. There's a very nice, very interesting mechanic here that you can perform the action on any of the cards that you have, but only the action that is showing, because the cards are double-sided. After you take an action, you flip the card to the other side. You cannot use it again this turn, but next turn when you use it, you can only use the effect. It is currently visible, so there is an interesting cycling, there is an interesting element of timing actions here that I like very, 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 very much, and to me this is the most interesting element of the design. Also, you see there are areas where you can place those wound tokens that I mentioned earlier, and unfortunately if you place them on a card, the card is disabled. You cannot use it until you remove it using a game effect. other symbols. That is a symbol that is used to activate certain effects. And, well, the game is pretty simple, really. When it is your turn, you perform 2 actions, and your purpose is to go around the dungeon, kill monsters, look for treasures, get better equipment, and through all of those things, you collect points. Pretty much you have 2 actions per turn, and you can choose to move, to perform the move action. Then you choose any of your cards, you ignore the text of the card, you flip it to the other side, and then you move your hero up to the number of movements points indicated on the hero's card. Or you can actually perform one of the actions, and an important thing about actions is that it can be boosted. Actions may be boosted by using fate cards. I mentioned all of those fate cards that can be used as resources. As you can see, there are symbols on top, and you can use those symbols to boost actions. For example, if I have fate cards in my hand and I want to heal, I want to use this action, then I can boost that and get extra and heal extra once by using these cards, and then I have 2 boosts here. Or if I'm performing a magic attack, I deal 1 damage to an enemy in the same or an adjacent room, and I decide to play this card here, and now I give an extra point of damage because I boosted that action. So these cards are very important. They also have text that you can choose to use later in the turn, depending on whether you're playing cooperative or competitive. Different effects will apply. So the fate cards are pretty important. So, in a certain sense, that's it. Choose your actions and do what the text says, with the exception of moving, because that's when you do not use the text. Some effects are really powerful, as you can see here, and then it makes sense that after that it gets a little anticlimactic. The next time that you use that action is a little less powerful. To fight an enemy, depending on the text, you may have to be in the same room, or it's okay if you're adjacent. You perform that action, you boost it through various effects, and that tells you total damage that you give to the enemy. If the total equals or exceeds the defense of the enemy that you are attacking, the enemy is removed, and you can take that token and put it in your game area, and becomes a trophy that you can later exchange for various types of advantages. Again, during your turn, move, attack, prepare, heal, that kind of stuff. Try to get treasures, and the procedure to get treasures is the same. You play a search action, you boost it, and until you get that number there or higher, then you can collect the treasure. Also, once you're done performing actions, you can claim other cards. You may claim an equipment card, and you do so by trading in one of your treasure tokens, various types of good things that you may have. Feel free to pause if you want to read the text. Whisper cards, also very interesting, and you simply need, at the end of your turn, when you're claiming a card, to be able to meet the requirement on the card to take the card. Here, for example, bring 1 beast trophy to the battle shrine. Eliminate the Lord of the Dungeon. Bring 1 Dragon trophy and 1 Undead trophy to the battle shrine. So yes, it's a dungeon crawler with a pickup and delivery mechanic. There is a race mechanic element, set collection, because basically fighting, the epic fight means I need an extra symbol to meet this number here. Where can I collect that extra symbol? I think you can start probably getting a sense that, to me, this is not much of a dungeon crawler, but really it is a Euro game in disguise. So you pick up and delivery, and then you collect stuff, and then you get these other cards. Also, we have these other cards that are super powerful. These are general actions because they are, yes, exactly the same as these action cards. In order to get one of those, you need to pay the price, which can be paid by spending trophies and or treasures. And once you add one of these cards to your pool, it becomes one of your action cards. It works exactly like the other ones. You do what it says. One, you do so, you flip it to the other side, and ta-da! And that's how it works. So play your 2 actions, claim a card from the various places that I mentioned. Remember to use your fate cards to boost actions. Once you're done with your actions, you can also play a boost card to actually implement the effect. Then it's time for the enemies to activate. You draw a fate card and you look at the icon at the bottom, and the monsters of that type, brigand, beast, or undead, will activate. And if they have a hero in their range, that is a hero that they can attack, then they will simply attack. Otherwise, they will move following those symbols, trying to reach a hero. And after they reach a hero, they may be able to attack. Or they may just wander aimlessly around the dungeon without doing anything. With the heroes knowing exactly where they'll be. You know, I may be here and I know exactly where this guy will want to go the next time it activates. There is some powerful telepathy, I guess, in this fantasy world. When the monsters attack, they inflict that damage on the hero. The hero subtracts the defense, which is indicated on the card of the hero. The excess damage is taken in ones that you had to place somewhere on your character, which may be on your main card, so that it doesn't give you any negative effect when you place ones there to cover those icons. And again, if you cover icons on your action cards, that is a little more problematic because then the card is locked. And this is how it works. So later in the game, the big boss shows up. You have a collection of big bad bosses that will be the final baddie of the dungeon. Again, you're trying to defeat the boss, and once the body is defeated, you count the victory points, which is based on the number of trophies that you collected, and pretty much, again, the treasures, the shards, there are shards on the board, and again, pretty much the number, how good of a looter you have been during the game. So, Shadowscape, a general assessment. The first thing to say is that this doesn't feel at all as a dungeon crawler or as an adventure game. It really is a Euro game with some fantasy art, which is beautiful art, but also, by the way, you need to have an eagle eye because some of that art is so minuscule that it's really hard to see and appreciate. But the game, the engine, definitely is a Euro game to me. The board is known, you know where the monsters will go, it's set collection, pick up and delivery, quote-unquote deck building engine, or say hand building engine as you add new cards. And that's, per se, this is not a bad thing. That is to say, there are a lot of Euro games out there, which is good. Not being a dungeon crawler, per se, is not a flaw. The problem, of course, is that seeing the way the game is packaged and the art, then there's always the risk that simply the game will not go to the right target audience. People are looking for dungeon crawlers may be disappointed by the game, and people that like Euro games may overlook it. So it is a Euro game with a dungeon crawl theme. Mechanically, it reminded me of Istanbul. That is a bigger, deeper, more meaty game, but you also go around, pick up something here, deliver it there. Also, the board is similar in the sense that it's a grid and you can move by 90 degrees turn on the grid. It really reminded me of that game rather than a Warhammer Quest or Legend of Dresd or Castle Ravenloft. So that tells you the thing. Again, past that, what was my disappointment, I expected a dungeon crawler, but well, let's see if this Euro game is a good one. I would say this Euro game is okay, is good, not great. I like a lot the core idea of the cards that you can turn, and so you have to think about the timing and create combos. I like it immensely. I just don't have the feeling that the idea was really brought to its full potential here. Maybe other games, maybe Mistfall, I haven't played Mistfall at all. Maybe that's where you have that implemented in a way that's a little more interesting. To me, there's an idea that in this game I see its potential, but then it doesn't really go as far as it could because the rest of the game feels a little shallow, a little dry, a little abstract, a little, well, at times too obvious. And at other times, well, it's obvious what to do, and at other times it's obvious that you will not have much to do. The first thing, sometimes it's obvious what to do next, and you have that time to think about it because everything is known, you know exactly what the monsters will do. That really shouldn't be the case, where you know exactly what you can do, etc., etc. You have been planning your actions, and so you built up to a certain to a certain sequence of events. It's your turn, you implement that thing. No surprise, no thrill, no adrenaline boost there. Other times, which is worse, it's obvious that you don't have anything to do, precisely because you're setting up a situation, then you're simply taking some silly actions to flip cards so that the next turn you will have what you want to do, or in 2 turns from now, or you need to heal, so I spend a turn just healing, and the next turn setting up what I really want to do. And then another turn simply moving where I want to go. So it happens that every 2-3 turns there will be maybe one that I really don't do anything. It feels purely perfunctory, and I'm too old and I have too many games in my collection to spend much time on a game that does not engage me every turn, that does not give me decisions, does not give me challenges, does not give me some interesting concepts to chew on every turn. I'm past, games like we had in back in the day, in which the penalty, you skip a turn. I just cannot be in the same room with those games anymore. And games where functionally have something similar, although not quite as dire, of course, to me that weakens those games. And Shadowscape happens to have that element. I'm not technically skipping a turn, but if I'm spending my turn just setting up the next turn and maybe the following one also doing the same, then that's a weakness. That's a weakness of design. It weakens the pace. It makes it less interesting. Now, again, this is the minority of turns, luckily enough, but turns like that happen, and what can I say? Games that do not have this, that keep me entertained every turn, are simply superior to games where I have to take a lull turn from time to time, and it's a lull turn that doesn't create suspense, doesn't build up, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? There's a countdown clock in the sense that the situation feels exciting. I simply, quote-unquote, skip a turn, or I just execute some really obvious actions and I wait for another turn to execute an action that will pay off, but is not much less obvious. This being said, again, maybe I'm sounding too negative. It's not a bad game for a light game, for a light Euro game where you go around, you collect your sets of cards. I like the fact that the cards that you can collect, that I like. It's very hard to get there sometimes, and so again it feels like I wish that building a deck or building a hand was a little easier, so you have more ways of customizing your actions. It seems to me that there is a potential in this game that was only exploited partially. To me, this is a game that has an interesting, very good core idea, an implementation which is not all that it could be, and so as a result we have a game that is good, okay/good, not great. And again, actually, probably I would sound less negative if a good game is all that there was here, but then I also cannot but help to compare to what I feel the game could have been, and I think, this game really feels like a wasted opportunity. It's not a bad game, it's portable, it's simple. It is soloable, it can be played cooperative or competitive, so it has all these advantages, but again, there are some fundamental weaknesses in this game that prevent it from being much more than it could be. Maybe there will be a future edition that is more solid, or at least more entertaining, more compelling, as is, the game is, again, okay/good, okay, so and so. Not the worst, not the best that I played by any means, but again, it just feels like it could be so much better.